Hey there, Chadi Bazzi here, and welcome to another episode of the Top Listing Agent Show. You know how I begin the show all the time by saying I'm excited about the guest I have on today. Well, today I'm double excited because I got two guests on here today, and check this out. Our guest, Michael, has closed his team, his brokerage, etc., over 78,000 transactions. You know what this means? That means stop everything that you're doing and pay attention, because on top of that, we have a marketing and branding expert, author, Tonya, on the show today. So Tonya, Michael, welcome to the Top Listing Agent Show. I appreciate you guys being here with us today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
For having us.
We're honored.
Right. So that was like my introduction, but I guess no one can introduce you better than you can introduce yourself. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, it doesn't matter who starts first, a little bit about you, how awesome you are, and why should our audience pay attention today?
Well, I'll tell you my story and you can decide whether it's awesome or not, right? Well, my humble beginnings were selling vacuum cleaners door to door to pay my way through college. And it was really the first taste I got of personal branding, because I realized you needed a story when you walked up to somebody's door. Otherwise you hear, right? It just closes. So I learned that very early on. I kind of had developed my own story. And then through that process, through 3 years of doing that door to door, I was discovered by somebody in radio, and they approached me and asked me if I wanted to apply for a sales position that they had available. So I thought, sure, why not? Well, fast forward 18 years later, I was still in the media world. When I first got to radio, I was young, I was green, and I looked around and I thought, who are these rock stars that are showing up to all these networking events? And people know them and they practically like bow down before them when they come into a room. Well, they were business people who were the face of their own business. They were voicing their own radio commercials, in their TV ads, in their newspaper ads, on magazines locally, on billboards. And so I noticed that all of those people who were super successful and most of the time number one in their industry in that market were the face of their business. And so fast forward, many years later, to the founding of BrandFace, because that was my passion through all those years. I started by dragging some of those people into the radio studio and helping them to cut their own commercials and voice their own message about why somebody should do business with them. So years later, BrandFace became a thing. And that was my personal passion. And then around that same time, I met this gentleman who became my first real estate client, and I'll let him pick it up from there.
All right. Yeah. And it was a life changer for me. That's for sure. I'm a trained auctioneer. That was my first passion. I came out of high school and I wanted to be an auctioneer, and I learned so. And the guy that mentored me in the auction business said, get your real estate license and you might make a little extra money on the side. And I did that for a long time. 2000, I opened up my own brokerage, but I still just did my own transactions, bought from my own portfolio, helped my friends and family buy properties. I was still a contract auctioneer. And then in 2006, when the mortgage, right at the edge of the mortgage debacle, I partnered with a company out of Irvine, California. We had a preliminary sale in Atlanta, Georgia, 300 properties sold, 294 of them at auction. And we went after the Bear Stearns portfolio and we got it. And sold about 75% of that. In total, somewhere around 175,000 units. I was responsible for about 70,000 of those at the time. And ended up licensed in 33 states. I had an office in Irvine, an office in Seattle, Washington, and my home office here in Atlanta. But auctioneers are always working themselves out of a job. And so as the market began to fix itself, hallelujah, I came back home. So what am I going to do now? I looked around, bought a piece of property, enjoyed the transaction on the other side of the table with the lady that sold it to me. And she came to me and said, you need to open up a regular arm's length brokerage in our small town here, North Atlanta. And because there's no competition here. And so I let her convince me to do that. And I said, if you'll come on board with me, we'll start this thing up. And we did. And the second thing she said was, your marketing stinks. So you need to meet my niece. And she had a full service marketing company out of Columbus, Ohio at the time. She had BrandFace that she had developed and written. I did not know that. at the time. I hired
I was
her.
writing it at the time.
She was writing it, and I hired her as a turnkey marketer. She helped revamp so many things that we're going to talk about here today, and really positioned our brokerage for stardom, and taught me what it was like to be the face of the business. I was just going to, step back, fish, do whatever. And she said, no, push me into the limelight. We began to practice those principles we're going to talk about on your show here today. And my business has either doubled and some years quadrupled every year since then. We close more business now in a month than we closed in an entire year, 7 years back. 2013, I had one transaction. We're killing it now. We're looking at a brokerage in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Orlando, Florida as we speak. And I have 23 agents in Atlanta that are all top performer and award winners and brand faces themselves. So,
wow.
She's the secret to my success, is what I like to tell about.
I'll pay you later.
All right. Well, sounds to me like, how can I say this? Sounds to me like what we're talking about here is what's not really talked about in the real estate, arena, enough. I mean, everybody's all about like, hey, get your mind right. Hey, pick up the phone, make a few phone calls. Hey, you got to learn how to handle those objections. And now we're coming from the perspective of like, how do you become the celebrity of your marketplace? How do you position yourself as the expert? How do you position yourself as the person of authority, such to the point that people come to you and you don't have to do all the chasing? And that's exactly what got me very excited about speaking to you guys today, because in essence, the world has changed. And if we don't change with the world, we really get left behind. And what people don't really understand is that you can pick up the phone and do your calling. You can do open houses. It doesn't matter how you generate your leads. At the end of the day, the moment that lead gets your name, they are going to Google you. They're going to look you up on the internet. And you either have a brand that is going to do all the telling and selling on your behalf to let that person know that they just got lucky to meet you, and or you're going to have a stinking marketing. Was that the word?
Exactly.
Have like, stinking marketing, and they're going to move on to the next person. So as a real estate agent, okay, as a real estate professional, where do I begin? Do I begin with the logo? Like, what is the thought process? Like, how do we like break this down into like a framework?
All right. Well, yeah,
let's do this.
It's a super easy process, even though it's very comprehensive. So it's define, develop, and display. That's our 3D process. We call it the freedom formula, Chadi. And that's the reason we do that, is because it brings you the freedom you desire to have your brand precede you, that have that law of attraction type of marketing, so that yes, of course, you have to prospect. Yes, you have to pick up the phone. Yes, you have to meet people you haven't met before. That will never change in business. But the point is, by the time you walk through that door, they better already be familiar with you and what you stand for. If not, your brand is not working for you, or you don't have one. So the 3D process, and if you will allow, we'll kind of explain a little bit about all three.
This is your expertise. I want to extract all the golden nuggets from you guys, because I want everyone that's watching this video and or listening to this to be able to apply something immediately and positively impact their business. And I know you got the gold, so give it to us.
You got it. I'll take the first D. How's that?
You
Okay.
take the first.
The first D is define. So what we're looking at that phase is we're looking at who your ideal customers are. And you really need to hone in on that, because in order to do any kind of marketing, how on earth would you know what to put in your marketing unless, first of all, you know who it is you're trying to attract with that marketing? So that's a big mistake that a lot of agents make, is they go out, I'm going to market now, I'm an agent, I'm going to go get a photo shoot, I'm an agent. Well, what kind of photo shoot? What are you going to put in your marketing? What goes on your website? How about your business card? Otherwise, you're just marketing like everybody else. So we start looking at those ideal customers, not for the point of boxing you in and saying you can only work with these type of people. You can work with anybody you want. But what you don't want to do is waste your money, time, and effort marketing.
Or money.
Yeah, big money. Marketing to people, to everyone. You can't do that. You need to know who it is you're marketing to. And then second, we take a look at your points of differentiation. Everybody has something very unique about them. In fact, they have many things unique about them. Our job is to say, okay, here's who you're trying to reach in your marketing. Here are the things that are very unique about you. Which one of these or a blend of these are we going to lead with when it comes to your brand? It's that marketing hook. If you're a politician, what platform do you run on, right? You usually pick one thing and you run with it. And it's not very different in real estate. You pick one thing you want to stand for or be known for. Now, that's what we call a brand identifier. Most people would refer to that as a tagline or a slogan. It should either be who you are or what you stand for. So that, and the reason we do those is because if you think about your brand, it's like it is your story. It's like a book. Think of it like a book. You cannot, however, put the entire contents of your story on the cover of your book. No one would be able to read it.
Right.
So what we have to have is that 75-mile-an-hour drive by, stop in your tracks.
Super
Wow, that's
shiny.
interesting. Yeah. What is it that something that just makes people stop and at least makes them curious to want to turn that page? That's the brand identifier. That's the look and feel. That's the one thing that sets you apart. So that's the definition phase. Your ideal customers, the things that set you apart, and the final determination of what are we going to lead with? What's that marketing hook that we're going to be known for? And so I'll let you pick it up with the next one.
Yeah,
did you have a question?
Yeah, before we do that, I want to,
Sure.
help expand on that, because usually I'm thinking like devil's advocate in the mind of a typical real estate agent. I think the majority of agents out there, they just want to do a transaction and they never really take the time to think about this. And, anyone that's got a heartbeat and says, hey, I'm kind of interested in real estate, we bend over backwards and do whatever it takes to drive them all over town, try to sell them a house, etc. And look, if you need to make a paycheck, I get it, but you need to think long-term and you need to address this. And if you could give us a little bit more insight on how do we identify who is our ideal client? Like, what do we think about? Do we think about age group? Do we think about education level? Do we think about income level? Can you just expand just a little bit on that so I don't leave people kind of hanging,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. We're going to throw down a nugget now.
Like one of the things that we talk about is it's not good enough when you're thinking about your brand to be known for your profession. BrandFace says you have to be known for being different in your profession. Okay. And so like for us, when we build brands for people, we look at 77 different criteria. All right. You want to do that deep dive because it does need to be something that is unique to you and interesting or valuable to your customer or your ideal customer. Okay. So if you don't know exactly who your ideal customer is, you don't know what isn't valuable to them and you don't know how that ties to you. Now, this could be something super simple. Like it could be, I live in a rural area and I love horses. So I'm going to make my brand something that's tied in with equestrian living, and then I'm going to build my story and I'm going to define that more and more. We're going to talk a little bit more into the development phase in a minute, but that could start to be your hook, right? Like you said, many people, and we get this all the time when we talk to people about diving into an ideal customer, they're like, well, won't I sell a house to anybody? The answer to that is yes. Like if you've got floor duty or you got ups or you've got a broker sending you leads, of course, pick up the phone. I mean, if your ideal customer is a downsizer, empty nester, a retiree, and a first-time home buyer calls you and says, hey, I'll sign a buyer's agency today and will you show me properties? Of course, let's go. But when you start, like you said, for long-term growth, build blocks that build upon each other, then when you start making a marketing plan, you want your energy to go towards the people you want to work with. We have what's called the Heap Criteria, right? It's exclusive to BrandFace. Heap, like HEAP, and it's an acronym for when you're defining who you want to work with. First one is people you can help. So think about who can I help? And that could be your expertise. Maybe you are a downsizer. Maybe you got into real estate late in life and you've already retired and you just wanted to make some extra money. And you know the lifestyle of those people and you can help them because maybe somebody helped you. You know, how many times do you have clients and people that listen to your podcast say, well, I got into real estate because I had a terrible experience and I thought, well, I could do better than that, right? Well, that's somebody that you can help, somebody you already identify with, right? Number two is the letter E, right? Which is somebody you enjoy working with. Literally think about that. Who do I enjoy working with? If you've been in real estate for longer than a minute, think back of your past transactions, those people that loved you, invited you over to dinner, invited you to the cookout, you know, when their daughter's graduating college, like you enjoy them, right?
They let you do your job.
They let you do your job, right?
They didn't hassle.
And then the next one is A, which is somebody that appreciates you. Okay. Again, if you've been in real estate longer than a minute, think of those people that really appreciated the hard effort that you put into it, your expertise. They didn't argue with you. They weren't those, we all have those clients that have never bought or sold a house ever, but they're smarter than me. And I've done 78,000 transactions, right? You can't do anything with them, right? You just do the best you can, hopefully make a paycheck, move on down the road. And then finally, the P is somebody that is profitable for you, right? Discount brokerages have their place, but if you are like us and you're a full service and full pay real estate agents, nothing wrong with making a profit. We didn't just get into this business just to have fun, right? We got into this business to make money. Obviously, if money is your first driving instinct, you're probably not going to make it. Helping people and doing these things and following that HEAP acronym will lead you to those profitable people. And that will help you, should help your listeners really start to think about the people they want to attract. And that's the best and most important part of that define phase.
And I'm glad that we dived a little bit deeper on that and you used the HEAP acronym with us. And, I love that. I'm like, I'm an avid note taker and I got like a bunch of notes already. And it's like, help, enjoy, appreciate, they appreciate you're profitable. I mean, at the end of the day, wouldn't we want to work with more people like that? And then we are attracting people and we're like, oh, I wish I didn't need this transaction. Well, damn it, you need this transaction because you've never taken the time out to do your due diligence, to do, you reverse engineer the kind of client that you want. And I think that once you do, your message will begin to resonate with those people and those people will come to you. And all of a sudden you can work with the other people, but the other people are just a bonus that you pick and choose who to work with. So absolutely. I'm into our audience right now and I'm saying this, rewind what you've heard so far, okay? And begin to work on this. And I think, at the end of the show, Tonya and Michael are going to tell you exactly where you can get more access to this information. And this is an episode that you definitely, I'm already like 10, 15 minutes into this, and I'm saying you got to listen to this multiple times. And this is the freaking damn work that you got to do like now to take your business to the next level. This is awesome. Keep going, man. I'm like all ears and I need more things to write down notes on because
I do want to say something
for me too.
I want to say something about the HEAP criteria for a moment, because, you asked, hey, what do you look at? Do you look at like their income, what kind of home they're trying to buy? To me, those things are secondary. And I want people to understand that if you're what you do every day for a profession is part of who you are. It's your life. And if you want to create the kind of life and business that you want and that you deserve, start with what you want out of life. You want to work with people you can help, who you enjoy, who appreciate you, and who are profitable. Start there. And then once you put that together, then look at, okay, what else do these people have in common? Where do they live? How much money do they make? What kind of cars do they drive? How old are their children? Are they empty nesters? Are they divorced? I mean, look at all those things secondarily after the HEAP criteria. And that will all pull in together. Most people start with the demographics, not the psychographics.
Agreed. Yeah. I tell my agents all the time, like, if you're a broker, if you're an agent, right? A deal starts to fall apart. They call me on the phone and they're like, Michael, this thing's falling apart. The first question I ask them is, how many other deals do you have in the pipeline? Mm-hmm. If they tell me they don't have any in the pipeline, I'm like, double down on your efforts for your pipeline. right? Because the secret to, we can't avoid deals that are going to fall apart and people we don't want to work with. But what the medicine for that is knowing that you're attracting those people you want to. And like you said earlier, though, that was just a bonus or a non-bonus. Like, push it aside. Don't let any more time be wasted in your mindset, and keep rolling, right? If they say, I got a lot in my pipeline, if they do the best you can to hold this one together, focus on the others. Let's go. Don't let it deflate you. And that's hard for your new people that are listening, right? Because they're like, hey, I'm hungry, I'm starving to death, right? When we understand that, trust me, that's a part of real estate. It just takes a minute to get rolling. But if you get rolling and you build these blocks on here, you're going to look back and say, I'm really glad I held in on this profession and kept pushing to build those blocks up and pave that way.
I love that. And as you were expanding on that, I was reminded of a gentleman that I met back in 2007. His name was Jason. I don't remember his last name. But at that time, the gentleman was making about $300,000 a month, more money than I was making at that time. And he was also younger than me. And he was in the mortgage industry. And I had an opportunity to have lunch with him to pick his brain and just get to know him and learn something from him. And when I said, hey, what is the key to your success? He said, I treat everybody the same as long as A, B, or C. And that was the psychographic. And it wasn't, he said, it doesn't matter, what, if they were $1 million borrower or $100,000 borrower. When in reality, even my mindset just a little bit ago, I said, hey, do I need to take a look at their income level? Do I need to take a look at, their age and stuff like that? I think that's all secondary as long as they fit, the HEAP acronym.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And then you get to do what you love to do, right? With people that you love to do it with. And that's, we're all different. Like, BrandFace is built upon that because we all are unique in and of ourselves. We all have the same emotions. We're all made from the same, chemical makeups. But we're different. We have different interests. Some people like cars, and some people like fast boats, and some people like lots of family things and crafts, and people like horses, and people like outdoors, and people like indoors. People like to read. We all have these things that really and if you think about it, there's millions of other people that like those exact same things, and those are connectors.
That's why it's personal branding, not business branding. It's a great mixture of professional and personal things about each one of us. That, on the back of our books, it says people don't do business with a logo, they do business with a person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very true.
Yep. I was reading an article today, and I can't remember who wrote it. So if they're listening, I'm sorry, I would have quoted you specifically, but they said that, 90%, and it's so true, that there's only like 10% of people that ever do business with a brokerage because of who the brokerage is. They do business with the agent. They do the business with the agent that they met at the store, or that they met at the church, or their synagogue, or their recreational department, or, chamber of commerce, or, all those places where we end up. They're doing business with you. That's personal branding. And that leads us really into the development phase of the 3D formula, because development of that brand is very, very, very important. And
Can I inject something right here real quick?
You can, absolutely.
Okay. The reason I say this is because I've listened to some of your other podcasts, and I know that you are passionate about this too, is that making sure you understand your story and you get it all like put together, before you start marketing that. And I'm so glad to hear those things. But what happens is most people jump to the development first. They don't define, right?
That's true.
They jump to it. And then some of the things Michael is about to talk about, they just go all out and start throwing together a logo and getting a photo shoot and designing their website, and without one inkling of what are they trying to achieve. Now we can go ahead, because by now in our program, we have already done the definition phase. So we're getting to this.
Yes.
Okay.
So just as a reminder, number one in the define stage, guys, spend a lot of time thinking about the heap criteria and who you are and what you want to portray. Okay. And then you move into that development phase, into your story, and you start to infuse those personal elements about yourself. And what your makeup, what your experience level. You might just be getting in the real estate business and say maybe you've been a nurse for 20 years, and you think, okay, One thing's in the medical field, one's in the people in the sales field, right? What do they have to do with each other? They have a world to do with each other, right? Because you might find that traveling nurses are your ideal customer because you know what that's like. You know that lifestyle. You know you can speak that lingo. You have those connectors. You know problems, inside problems of hospitals and places you work with and doctors and other nurses and things. You can talk that. You need to infuse that. After you've defined your brand, you need to infuse those kind of minute parts of your story, because that's what speaks to people. That's what's attractive to people. That's when they do what NAR has already said, and you said at the beginning of your podcast, they're going to look you up. If you meet them, shake their hand, I'm in the real estate business, you're right. They're going to turn around and they're going to go to social media and they're going to look and see what your Facebook looks like, or what your Instagram looks like, or what your LinkedIn looks like. And then they're going to go to your website and they're going to read about you and they're going to find out what you're about. So the development phase, you need to spend some time thinking about also, so you get those key elements that are going to be attractive to that ideal customer.
Yep. And inside those developments, the things we're looking at and the things we're talking about are what we call branding elements. We're going to write the brand messaging, and brand messaging is your story, right?
Yep.
It's things like your elevator pitch, your biography, something we call signature sound bites, which are exclusive to us, but basically it's highlights of your brand at a glance, so that people don't have the time to read the full bio, or there's not enough room to put it on a particular piece of marketing. You've got the shortened version of highlights. So then we look at things like your brand colors, your personal brand logo, background imagery that resonates with your customer, your area, the homes you want to be known for helping people buy and sell, and what you stand for. So the reason we do a collection of imagery is because we want consistency across the board. We don't want a different image on in the Facebook cover photo versus the Twitter versus LinkedIn versus YouTube. We want some consistency across the board. So, and then we take a look at a photo shoot, making sure that photo shoot and those images, those photos really represent what you're trying to portray. And no, we're not talking about just typical old headshots. We're talking about full-length photos. We're talking about maybe props. We just had a guy from Charleston, South Carolina, do a shoot, and he loves hats, and it was his thing. So he wore hats, and I said, Ernest, before you do this photo shoot, I want to tell you one thing. Do the tip of the hat in your photo. Man, it turned out amazing. He killed it, and it's so unique. It's so wonderful, and that's his personality, so
and
those
it
are the
speaks
elements
to his story. Well, everybody knows a picture's worth 1,000 words. Okay, well, that 1,000-word picture has to match that 1,000-word biography, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it has to match your story, because our minds are complicated, and we already know the 7-11-21 rule, right, of marketing. People got to see you 7 times before they begin to remember you. They got to see you and what you do 11 times before they begin to associate those things. They got to see it about 21 times before they take action upon it. And every one of those development things need to point to the same story. Very important.
Yeah, and that concludes the development phase. So we've got all these puzzle pieces and parts ready now, and we're going to move into the third phase of branding, which is display. Now you need to make sure that brand is displayed correctly and consistently across everywhere. Write that down, everybody. Everywhere. Think of every place your brand could be infused. It needs to be consistent on your business card, personalized note cards, any kind of collateral material, social media, website, your vehicle, if you want to have your vehicle wrapped, or magnetic signs, pins, promotional items you give away, stickers that go on the back of your phone while you're standing there talking. They can see your brand on the back of your phone, or on the back of your laptop when you're in a coffee shop. Logoed shirts, everything you can think of. You want to breathe that brand everywhere you go, because that brand is you. And when people are proud of that brand, and they always are, and that's what makes me and Michael so happy, is that they live that brand because it is them, and they're so proud that what they're putting out there to the world finally showcases who they really are.
Them.
And in a very professional way, that for the first time in most of their lives, that they've never really looked inside themselves to see what makes them really special, let alone put that out there to the world. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful thing to see, and it's a beautiful thing to feel. Like, I can speak for me personally. For many years, I've changed my branding over and over and over again. And then I met a little kid, like, I kid you not, like a little kid, an 18-year-old that just like lives and breathes like, marketing and branding and design and all that stuff. And he said, all your logos are too serious and you're a very playful person. We need to create something that, shows the world that you are not just all business, but you're also a human being. And he created this, my initials, just the font and however he did it. And I was like, that's something that I want to showcase. That is something that feels good. That is something that I'm willing to tattoo on my body.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
totally woke me up.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can live it.
You
breathe
feel it. You
It's
feel
a
it.
suit you can put on every day and feel great in. And that's what you're looking for with your brand, because then it just flows. Like, you're not having to work at living it and showcasing it to everybody. You're just, and people pick up on that. They do. They're
They
attracted
pick
to
up
it.
on it. And when you know you stand for something,
Yep.
that's something else too. It's
Mhm.
there's that confidence that even the most confident people coming into our program come out a lot more confident. They're confident about what they do, how they do it, how they interact with people, but they weren't confident that that was portrayed before they walked into the room even.
Mhm.
And now it is.
Mhm.
Love it. So we got three things here. We said, okay, number one, okay, we said, oh, my notes, define, develop, display. So now we're talking about, like, okay, so I'm saying it. You are the personal brand and you need to brand yourself. Don't just depend on your beautiful company logo, etc., which is beautiful. You can still use it, etc. But that's branding the company, not branding yourself. You need to stand apart from the other 60, 70, 80, 90, couple hundred agents in your office that are also using that other brand, and that's your differentiator. So that's one. I'm telling everybody right now, take this seriously, set a goal for yourself. If you ain't got your branding right, give yourself 90 to 120 days by the end of the year. Don't let 2022 come around and you're still, not branded. So now I want to ask you the question, because I think a lot of people mistake it. What is the difference between branding and marketing? Because some people
Great question.
like I want to market, I want to la 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 la.
You're going to fire me up.
Yep. You just touch a button.
You just hit a hot button. Yeah, let me do this.
No,
please.
of course.
Okay. All right. So
You wrote the book on it.
marketing is really just getting your message out there via different marketing platforms. It's spending money on a lead generator and getting information out that way. It's Facebook ads, it's postcards, it's billboards, it's radio ads, it's any way you can get a message out to the world. That's marketing. Your brand is the message and image that goes into your marketing. So that's why when you sit down and let's just say you're going to do a simple postcard campaign, which almost every real estate agent in the world has done. You sit down and you look at that postcard and you see, okay, well, here's the measurements of it. Here's a photo, here's a logo. Oh my God, what's next? Right? And so then you have to really think about, what do I put on that's different from if you or someone would like to buy or sell a home, call me, right? That's so overused. What is going to make you stand out from all the other pieces of mail they get in their mailbox, and even pieces of mail they get from other agents? And so then you become starkly aware that, oh my gosh, I don't have a brand. So that's the difference. The marketing is any vehicle that gets the message out to the world. Your brand is the message and image that you're putting out there through that marketing.
So Tonya, what you're saying is 90+% of the agents that are doing this, they go market first. So basically they're spending the money sending off the wrong message to the right person. You hear that? The message is reaching the right person. The marketing is reaching the right person, but it's giving them the wrong message that repels them from working with you. And then people wonder, like, how come this worked for this other person, but it didn't work for me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
Yep. That's exactly right.
I love it. Okay. I got a question. This, it's not off topic. It's something I've always felt, and I just want to know if I'm feeling correctly, because I've been giving this as advice to agents, and I want to make sure I'm not steering them in the wrong direction. Like, you know, a lot of times when they're creating a logo, they come back to me with a house rooftop. And you know, for me, it's like, for me personally, I'm like, everyone and their mama got one of those. You know, what's so
You're not wrong.
with that?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I'll let you speak on that if you want, because
Yeah,
we
because I
both feel
actually
the
have one
same.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah. He has rooftops on his too. Yeah, I'll let him speak of it. That's
I do.
okay. No. We feel this.
It's okay.
It's a catch-22. Right.
It's okay. It's still just an element. And that's the way
Right.
I look at it, right? Because we do sell rooftops. That's what we sell, right?
Sure.
But it really ties in exactly with what you were just talking about. It's not enough. It's not enough. You know, that you have to, the development of all of this is what makes the difference. We tell people to stay away from the three amigos, right? Because they think, and it's not their fault they think this. It's because other bigger companies are perpetuating this, right? Everybody can build you a website. Everybody can find you a logo. You can go to Fiverr and they'll design logos. You can have logo contests, and you know, and people will just give free logos, and you can give them a $50 gift card, right? You know, all these kind of. It's not enough. A logo in and of itself, a photo in and of itself, and a tagline in and of itself will not do the job. You have to develop the rest of the brand. So there's nothing really wrong with rooftops if that's going to be your logo. I like different ones, honestly. And you know, when she came to me a long time ago with a certain rooftop in the design that we did, we still laugh about it today. I've been using it for 7 years now, and I'm like, one of these days I'm going to decide that's the logo for me. But the
He's
joke,
always second guessing.
but the joke is because it's not just the logo, right? I don't really have a problem with the rooftops. But you got to have more. You better have more.
So I
who's got the rooftops? You got nothing.
No, and I'm gonna chime in if you don't mind, Chadi, because I feel kind of like you do, because I think, oh man, how many more rooftop logos do we need to have out there, right? But when you look at that logo, and let's just say you're advertising in a golf magazine, let's just say you're at a golf event, right? And all you can do is put your logo on something. Well, to have the rooftops, that extra element inside your logo that says, hey, that's got to be real estate, and that recognizable part of it, there's nothing wrong with that. If it were up to me, it's like everybody's logo would look entirely different. But I understand that connection to what you do. So we've seen great ones without rooftops. We've seen great ones with them.
Good, awesome. So basically what you're saying is, you know, that's an element that is just going to grab the attention. And what Michael said is your messaging is what's going to like convert the person, not just, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, a blend of all those things. But he's
Yeah.
right, like the story is, you know, and the story is made up not just of the message, the written message, but of your photos and what they look like and how your personality comes across and how you might be standing or posing or holding a prop, or the image behind you.
The background
the
image
logo
is so
with you.
important.
It's the whole picture, and that's why we look at those 77 different criteria, because it's not about just one of those things.
Right.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right. So we're not going to get into the how much it costs to build a brand or anything like that, but it's not even a cost. It's an investment. And I know that for a lot of people, it's a hiccup. And I want people to take a look at it from the other side of like, not how much it's going to cost me to put it together, but how much is it costing me because I don't have it put together. So I want to know, in your professional opinion, is getting this branding right really going to make me more money, and what can I expect?
That was mine.
Yep.
That was mine. So I'm prepared for it. Number one, I believe Tonya when I hired her, you know, in 2013. I believe the things that she said. I really put her through the ringer. I really like ground her on the questions and stuff, because I was coming off the road. I knew a little bit about the things I wanted for a brand, but I didn't know how to pull it together. I didn't know the things she knew because my focus was on real estate and auctioneering. It wasn't on branding and building those things, right? So I trusted her with it. And so the first thing I would want to tell everyone in your audience is hire the right people and leave them alone and let them do it. Trust the expert advice because that's why they're there. And so I did that. And then in the growth of my brokerage, I can tell you I've got 23 agents in my office. And out of those 23, all of them have access to branding principles that we teach in BrandFace. And so they all get a little bit of benefit to this. But as anybody who also is in a brokerage or has a brokerage knows, there's varying degrees of effort that is put in and talent that is put in and how those agents succeed, okay? I have 9 agents in my office that are fully branded through the BrandFace program. They are the biggest producers by far. In fact, you could just take one of any of those 9 and they outdo all of the other 14 put together because they are identified, they are defined, they are developed, and they display that everywhere that they go. And so we're living proof that the model works even inside the microcosm of what she created in my brokers to begin with. So not only did we grow to be number 1 in our area and expand to that and now expanding to other states and cities, but the people inside my office that have also followed suit are also rising to the top. So I would implore every one of your listeners, you have to do this because you said it right. It's not the cost of what it takes to do it, any effort. It's what is it costing you to not do it?
Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely got my attention. When you gave me the breakdown, I wasn't even expecting that as a response. I mean, you knew that, the agents that are branded, any one of those is outperforming all the rest that are not branding. What more evidence do we need? Now, because you guys are sharing so much good stuff, I'm just like thinking to myself, like, is there a question that I should be asking you that I haven't asked you that I should ask you?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, there is. So there are a lot of personal branding companies out there. What makes you guys different?
I love it. That's exactly what I was going to ask you, Tonya.
All right, then. Yeah, I just
see she's a mind reader.
I am a mind reader. Like we think so much alike. So, and the reason I say that is the last few years, personal branding has been just a hot term. It's just been out there everywhere, and people are just really coming in to see the importance of it, I guess. And there are a lot of companies out there who say, oh, we'll help you build your brand, build your brand, build your brand. Well, to me, there's a huge difference between building a brand and promoting a brand. So when somebody says, I'll help you build your brand through YouTube videos, I'll help you build your brand through your website, I'll help you build your brand through Instagram, right? They have those people are great at what they do on those platforms, but they don't build a brand. They promote a brand. You can't promote a brand until it's built, though. Right? Mm-hmm. So what they're doing is they're promoting a person or promoting an industry or promoting their professional side. But if they don't have that story put together, and if they don't have the brand ready, really, how are they marketing any different from anybody else? So I want people to understand that just because somebody says they can help you build your brand, they're not really building your brand. You've got to do that before they're marketing your brand or lack thereof. So I think what makes us different is we're very comprehensive. We have those 77 criteria. We're very serious about this. This is all we do. We don't do marketing. We don't sell Facebook ads on the side. We don't sell billboards. We don't do any of that.
We don't build websites.
Personal branding. No, we don't build websites either. We know people who do, and we recommend them, but we don't build them ourselves. All we do is help you with your story. And I think, one of the favorite things to me is when somebody said to me a long time ago, hey, can you make me a star? And instantly I thought to myself and said to them, we don't make stars, we unveil them. And that's truly, to me, that was a God-given moment. That's truly what we do, because everybody is a star and everybody's so special. And you just got to take a minute to see how special you are. And if you take that minute, it'll be some of the best time you've ever spent in your life. So that's kind of, I really wanted to get that in because there's so much out there today.
I love it. I love it. So somebody right now is saying to themselves, I am a star. You're absolutely right. I am beautiful. I am special. I am caring. I should be serving more people because nobody can serve the people in my community at the level that I can. They just don't know about my star qualities. Tonya, Michael, help. How can I reach you guys? Where do I begin?
You want that one?
Go ahead.
DiscussYourBrand.com. That is the best place to go. DiscussYourBrand.com. And they can book a free 30-minute session with our staff and start to talk about it, because some people are in varying stages of branding. We do talk to people who are close. We talk to people who were like me 7 years ago, who had certain elements right, but didn't have it right and didn't have that put together right. We say to people, it's very hard to read the jar when you read the label when you're inside the jar. So DiscussYourBrand.com is the best place to go and learn more about what we can do for you and how we can help you.
Yeah. I love it. I will make sure to link that in the show notes at tlashow.com or chadibazzi.tv. And man, this has been freaking damn awesome. I feel like there's so much more that we can talk about, and hopefully sooner than later we can have a part 2 to this. So I just want to say, from me to you guys, thank you very much. This is very beneficial to our listeners, and to our listeners, listen to this episode 2 times. Go to DiscussYourBrand.com, book a session. It's complimentary. There's no obligation for anything. The worst thing that can happen is that I think the worst thing that can happen is a beautiful thing, because in 30 minutes you'll walk away knowing exactly, what branding you have or what branding you don't have, and where you really stand on the journey to create the ultimate brand that you want to create. And also, I want our audience to find Tonya and Michael on social media. Thank them for being on here. Give this podcast episode a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a positive review. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you very much for being on here today. Take care.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.